Thinking about an Audi RS3? Good choice. It's a tiny terror, pocket rocket performance in a compact, usable package. But before you get starry-eyed, let's talk about what it actually costs to own one. In this video, we'll break down the running costs for the RS3, insurance, fuel, tires, servicing, brakes, and the likely repair bills and niggles. If you want performance without the full supercar price tag, this is the kind of homework you need to do. Let's go. The RS3 is powered by Audi's 2.5-litre 5-cylinder turbo engine. Unique, loud, and addictive. Output sits around 392 brake horsepower in most markets, giving 0 to 62 miles per hour in roughly 3.8 to 4.1 seconds depending on year and gearbox. It's quattro all-wheel drive, compact, practical as a daily, and borderline ridiculous when you want it to be. Sounds epic. Costs? Also epic-ish. Let's start with insurance. Insurance for an RS3 is significantly higher than for a standard A3. In the UK, expect annual premiums roughly between £1,200 and £3,000, depending on driver age, location, no claims, security, and mileage. Younger drivers and urban postcodes will be at the top end. It sits in high insurance group territory because of its performance credentials. Always get multiple quotes and consider telematics for younger drivers to bring costs down. That brilliant 5-cylinder loves premium petrol. Official combined figures are optimistic. Real-world economy is typically around 25 to 30 miles per gallon if you're sensible, and closer to 20 miles per gallon or less if you enjoy the loud pedal, with UK petrol prices around £1, 45 pence to £1 70 pence per litre. A 55 to 60 litre tank will cost roughly £80 to £100 to fill. If you do spirited driving, budget for higher fuel spend and more frequent fill-ups. The RS3 runs sticky, wide performance tires that aren't cheap. A set of 4 premium 19-inch tires, factory size on many cars, will typically cost between £700 and £1,100 fitted, depending on brand. Michelin Pilot Sport, Pirelli P0, Continental for example. If you've got optional 20-inch wheels, add an additional £200 to £400. Where is real? Expect front tire life to be shorter if you launch it often. Replacement intervals can be 6,000 to 12,000 miles under enthusiastic driving. If you track the car regularly, budget for tire replacements multiple times a year. Audi recommended service intervals are usually every 12 months or 10 to 15,000 miles. But many owners do oil changes more often if they drive hard. Typical minor service, including oil, filter, and checks, costs around £250 to £450 at an independent specialist and £350 to £600 at an Audi dealer major services, which include more items, and diagnostics can be £700 to £1,200, depending on age, and whether DSG gearbox service or spark plugs are required. The RS3's gearbox, 7-speed S-tronic, and differential systems need attention. Gearbox oil services every 40 to 60,000 miles, cost roughly £200 to £400. Expect to pay more for dealer diagnostics, software updates and repairs, outside warranty. If you buy a used example out of warranty, consider a pre-purchase inspection. A thorough check at a trusted specialist is worth £150 to £300 to avoid expensive surprises. Braking packages vary. The standard steel setup is reasonably priced to maintain. The optional RS ceramic brakes, if fitted, are much more expensive. Estimated costs for all 4 corners, standard steel discs and pads, parts and labor, typically £900 to £1,800 total, depending on workshop, and whether fronts and rears are done together. Dealer or OEM pricing pushes this amount higher. Expect £1,500 to £2,500 at main dealer rates. RS ceramic brakes, if fitted, discs are very expensive. A full axle pair can be £3,000 to £6,000 per axle for parts alone. A full set, including labor, can be £6,000 to £12,000 plus, depending on condition and supplier. Fronts wear faster than rears. Sensors, brake fluid, and calibrations add cost. If you drive hard or track the car, Replace pads' discs more frequently. Track use can make pads last only a few hundred miles. The RS3 is generally robust, but has some known pain points, especially on higher mileage or poorly maintained cars. Some common issues include DSG's tronic mechatronics or clutch pack wear if abused. Repairs or replacement can be £1,500 to £5,000 depending on severity and whether rebuild or replacement is needed. Turbocharged system issues, intercooler pipes, actuator, £300 to £1,200 to repair. Usually, more if a turbo needs replacement. Oil consumption and carbon buildup on direct injection engines requires walnut blasting or cleaning and can be £300 to £900. Suspension bushes or mounts, generally after 50 to 80,000 miles, can be £200 to £800 to replace, depending on parts and labor. Electrically related niggles, sensors, infotainment glitches, £50 to £500 depending on parts and labor. Warranty and service history dramatically reduce risk. An uncertified car with missing history is the biggest gamble. So what does this all add up to? If we summarize typical annual running costs for a moderately driven RS3, say 10,000 to 12,000 miles, and you're enthusiastic but not full-time track day. Insurance budget, £1,200 to £3,000 per year. Fuel, £2,000 to £3,500 per year, depending on miles and how often you have fun. Tires, budget, £700 to £1,100 every 10,000 to 12,000 miles, so roughly £700 to £1,100 per year if you replace annually. Servicing and maintenance expect to average out to around £400 to £1,200 per year. Minor services versus occasional major. Brakes, on average, if you replace pads and discs as needed, plan around £900 to £2,000 every few years. When averaged, it's roughly £300 to £800 per year, unless you have ceramics or track the car. Combine all that, and a realistic owner should budget roughly £5,000 to £9,000 per year on running costs. This is widespread, depending on insurance band, driving style, and whether you track it. If you track the RS3 frequently or have ceramic brakes, that number can easily jump much higher. The RS3 is brilliant for someone who wants supercar-like performance in a compact, usable package. It's the ultimate grin machine for commuters who like to sprint between traffic lights. It's less ideal if you want low running costs, minimal servicing fuss, or you're on a tight budget. Buy with recent service history, and ideally find one with a full Audi service book or a specialist-maintained record. If you think the RS3 is tame, then you may be interested in the RS6, the RS3's big brother. Check out our video on the RS6 by clicking the link or browsing our videos to understand the costs with the RS6 and the specs to be found from this 4-liter beast. Final thoughts then, the RS3 is one of the best cars for pure driver joy that you can reasonably live with day to day. But it isn't cheap to run. Do your homework. Get multiple insurance quotes, check tire and wheel sizes on the specific car, verify service history, and budget for higher fuel, tire and brake costs. If you want a short checklist before buying, remember, full service history, recent major service, evidence of DSG service, tire conditions, any fault codes cleared, and a pre-purchase inspection at an RS specialist. So that's the running cost lowdown for the Audi RS3. Expect an exciting ownership experience, but plan your wallet accordingly. Roughly £5,000 to £9,000 a year for sensible owners, more if you really thrash it. If you found this useful, hit the like button and subscribe to Rev Club for more car cost deep dives. Tell us in the comments, would you rather have an RS3 or save the cash for a weekend supercar rental? See you next time.